less than 2 minutes early warning. So we prepare our dream like what is illustrated in this slide, that we need to have real-time seismic processing, comprises of acquisition, and then also processing and analysis. And in line with that, we provide the pre-processing under the acquisition by using the ocean data, as well as data preparation, and we also conducting also use the source model and references, and also use the previous study and pre-processing software. And of course, in the processing, we need to have very fast running of tsunami modeling with the service level 3. It means the product of the early warning must be able to show to the public that the inundation level, for instance, in one particular village, we must be able to provide early information that potential inundation of tsunami can be up to 29 meters. So that's what we have conducted by using ordinary computer. We run for 3 days by using ordinary computer. We can found that the potential highest tsunami in worst scenario when the earthquake of 8.7 occur will be 29-meter inundation. So we do expect from 3 days, it can be perhaps 3 seconds to get that calculation, or 30 seconds. So it must include the modeling coverage time and coverage. Our dissemination is not only for Indonesia and ASEAN, the coverage of our dissemination up to Indian Ocean. So we provide the tsunami service warning for 28 countries across Indian Ocean. And then in the analysis or post-processing, we must conduct the check and validation, field verification by using GIS and also inundation map until village level. So these are the complex pre-computed tsunami modeling. Currently, we use 20,000 scenarios of tsunami modeling. However, due to the complexity of our country's conditions, 20,000 scenarios is not enough. We must manage to be 100,000 scenarios. So it should be 5 times than what we have at the existing modeling. And finally, we must provide innocuous impact-based system by using by providing a real-time event of the earthquake with the modeling perspective of a tsunami, and then the sea level monitoring real-time, and also conducting the dissemination in total from end to end must be less than 2 minutes. So that's all our challenge and our dream, and we do expect through the collaboration we can manage to save the people, not only for Indonesian people but also for ASEAN and 28 other countries across Indian Ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Professor. I think it's difficult to think of a more important application. I mean, here we're talking about HPC saving lives. I think that's very humbling, and really highlights why HPC is important and why further development and even further performance increases is important. So to support critical applications like this. Now, to speak about the the computers. Next up, I'd like to invite Professor Mateo Valero, Director of the Barcelona Supercomputer Center, to speak to us. Mateo is a professor in the Computer Architecture Department of the Polytechnic University of Catalonia in Barcelona. And he's published approximately 700 papers. He's served in more than 300 international organizations. And he's an honorary doctor at no less than 9 universities. He's received more awards and fellowships than I have time to list here. But I actually think what sums it up best is that Mateo was recognized for outstanding leadership in HPC by the HPC wire readers, being an HPC pioneer since 1990 and driving force behind the renaissance of European HPC independence. And with that, I think he is very capable of talking to us about the future of HPC. So Mateo, I'd like to hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Anders, for your kind introduction. Good afternoon in the ASEAN countries, and good morning in the European countries. Listen, I prepared some slides. So the first things I would like to say that if you look the Fugaku, the faster computer in the world in many of the benchmarks, I think in all of them, is an homogeneous machine. They just have one kind of processor, but if you look the others, many of them have different kind of processors. They are heterogeneous. They have specialized accelerator for numerical, artificial intelligence, tensor. So I would say, and I think we all agree, that the future, the majority of the current and the future supercomputing will be heterogeneous, where we will be adding new kind of accelerator coming from the neuromorphics of the quantum computing field, okay? The second thing I would like to say, and probably we don't agree on that, is that I strongly believe that in 10 years, the majority of the system will be open source at the software and at the hardware level. Let me tell you that when we start with the Mare Nostrum 1 in 2004, the Mare Nostrum 1, who was number 4 in the world, was the first supercomputing commodity. Commodity means that it was the first one used in the PowerPC that were used in PCs, and the first one having Linux as an operating system. People say, you are wrong, don't run this thing with Linux because it's okay, every computer now run Linux, okay? So my prediction is that the future supercomputer will be open at the hardware and at the software level. If you look, the current situation is the one in the figure where, thanks to the Linux, we democratize the software, but we have down the hardware, and the hardware is proprietary now. So we have problems to do co-design, we have problems to adapt the programs, okay? And say that when Europe had the R, BSc proposed, first one in the world, that they predict that in the future, there will be faster supercomputing, very fast supercomputing based on R. So we pioneered a set of a European project. They were financed by Europe in order to start designing the software stack for the software stack for the R-based machine, and we built some of them. The latest one was the Mont Blanc, we call Mont Blanc. And let me tell you that 10 years ago, Jensen from NVIDIA called me very interested on that. I went to Silicon Valley, and 5 years ago, Fujitsu were in touch with us, and then we had been collaborating in this topic. Next one, Anders. Next one, please. So, as I say, based on R, we build system in Europe, please. And then the R went to Japan, to the SoftBank, and then, please. What happened is that Fujitsu with Riken start a very good project, incredible project, 6 years of a very big investment, and they came with the Fugaku, okay. we can talk later with Satoshi-san later, but Fujitsu was forced to forget the Spark because problems in the processor and in the number of units they were selling, and probably they took the decision of using R because it was almost impossible. They would like to have an own development to use either IBM or Intel at that time. So next one, please. So next one. So.
Oh, sorry, I'll go back.
No. Go to the previous one. This one. Thank you. No. Please click. So this is this is our no. This one. Okay, thank you. So this is the view. This is our view. All will be blue. All will be open. Okay. That will take time. Let me tell you that Acorn was the company who created R. It was created in '78. They start with a better system, and now, 40 years later, they have one of the most powerful processors in the world. What will happen with R is that the increase of the software stack was slow because it was a proprietary hardware. Okay. This was not the case for Linux, where after the worldwide accept the operating system, many people were working on that. My impression is that if you look when the RISC-V was started 5 years ago, and you see the current hardware and software is impressive. It's exponential compared with the speed at what the R was. So it took a long time for R, but we strongly believe that we will be much faster for RISC-V. Look at all the submit they have, plenty of product, hardware and software, and some of them very close to be used in the faster supercomputer now. Okay, in order to build this open world, we need investment, obviously. Okay, we need money, and then you know that BSC is promoting in Europe the use of RISC-V as an alternative, first to design Accelerator, who had less problem for the software, and that could be done in 4, 5, 6 years. But it will like to have general purpose processor. Probably we need to take 10 years, but not more. My prediction is that in less than 10 years, the software ecosystem for any RISC-V from embedded to HPC software will be ready. So next one. So our instrument, the thing we are proposing, and Andres knows very well, we are not original on that. It's just to follow the ideas that in the States with the ECP, with Aurora, Capitan, or in Japan with the Fugaku and previously with the K computer, is that we need a flagship project. Okay, we need to accommodate all the research we do in one direction with one vision. Okay, and the second thing is that we need to have together some kind of tender and development system. This is what they do in the same in Japan or in the States. Okay, we need money, but I am very sure that we can do in Europe. Okay, so this is the project that we would like to collaborate in Europe. So in the next one, please. This is the latest one. So this is what we think as we are in a workshop in a summer school with the Asian countries, as we are collaborating with you, as we don't have any geopolitical problem with you. We think that, please, Anders, that it is the time probably to discuss together the possibility of defining some flagships where we can collaborate. Please go. Where Europe and the ASEAN countries develop this software and hardware ecosystem, please. And then finally, just to get our lemma in Europe, who is let's try to build and not just to buy. And that would be my illusion, my dream, to have the Mare Nostrum 6 in 6 years from now, having an European accelerator and the associated software stack at the time that where we are going to have in Europe general purpose processor that will be connected in the next Mare Nostrum 7 or even Lumi 2, Lumi 3, whatever. Okay. Obviously, our vision is that in the first version we are going to develop an accelerator that probably the best processor to link with is the R. So the combination of R as a general purpose plus the European RISC-V based accelerator could be a very good proposal for the next, some of the next exascale, post-exascale European supercomputer. Okay. So I would like to finish. Thank you in special to you, Fabrizio, for all the time and your team and all the people who has been collaborating with you. We are in a unique, next one, please, in a unique place to do that. We need to promote education. This is an example, the one we have. We have in Europe courses from PRAISE. We are starting now. There is an open call for establishing joint master courses. So we need to educate the people. We can discuss later some details of that. And obviously, I would like to finish saying that this school is a very good example of the things we need to do together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Matteo. That's very insightful. So you already mentioned accelerators and quantum, and I think one of the open questions I think on everyone's mind. I think everyone expects that quantum has a key role to play for the future of HPC, but we have yet to exactly find out how, and we will do that. And to talk to us about that, I'm honored to have José Ignacio La Torre, Director of the Center of Quantum Technologies. So Professor José La Torre is the Director of the Center of Quantum Technologies in Singapore and the Chief Research of Quantum Research Center in Technology Innovation Institute in Abu Dhabi. He also created a quantum tech company that is constructing the first quantum computer in the south of Europe. José, I'll leave the floor to you, please.
Thank you very much, Anders, and thank you also to all the panelists and everybody there. And in particular, let me say that I subscribe fully all the ideas that just Matteo has presented. And as you will see in this short presentation, there are many similarities. So in this introduction, let me bring three concepts. So my first concept, the first idea I would like to bring is that quantum computation, it's in a way unstoppable, because it's really just a continuation of what is the research in quantum technologies. So if you go back to the beginning of our modern physics in the 17th century, when we started to understand the principles that control the universe, we exploited them, and that's a century of mechanicism. We understood fully how to do a bridge, okay, with those laws. We found quantum mechanics by the turn of the 20th century, so this is 19th to 20th century. The first quantum equation was written on the 7th of October of 1900. And this 20th century has been a century where we learn how to deal in a clumsy way with quantum physics. Yet, by the year 1947, the transistor was invented. Later on, the 60s, we had the lasers. So we do process information using these transistors based on solid state physics. We do communicate by using coherent states of light, which is again the quantum state, and many other things, as you know, the control of magnetic resonance, the individual spins of matter, or the atomic clocks that allow the GPS. All this is like the control of matter in not a refined way. So we address very many individual elements at a time. Yet it's amazing how much we can do. It's amazing. So in this context, plus the addition of 1930s, the first understanding of computation. What is computing? Okay, Church, Turing, Post. Then the ideas of how to do it, how to set the theorems that control our, for instance, compression, 1950s, plus the advent of all these machines. Really, we can say that the second half of the century was the beginning of a very huge era, the era of information, the control of information by humans. So in a way, if you follow this line of thought, it just happened that we are now controlling individual atoms, individual electrons, individual photons. So it's a refined control of matter. So it's obvious that sooner or later we will use that to process information at the higher level. So we will use the laws of quantum mechanics. We don't need to follow the laws of classical physics, which are an effective theory of quantum mechanics. So this is my first idea. It's unstoppable. It's not up to us. It's a fact that humans have reached this amazing control of nature. So sooner or later, quantum devices will proliferate in our lives. So this is my first idea. My second idea is related to how I see the future. Well, indeed, I subscribe what Matteo said. I think that this supercomputation is made of modules that serve different purposes. I keep saying to everybody that you do not need a supercomputer to write a letter, but you need it for certain tasks. But definitely then the tasks defines the computer you need. So maybe you need neuromorphic computation, or maybe you need extremely well-distributed computation, or you need to explore an amazing space, and that quantum mechanics can do it. The Hilbert space is exponentially large in the number of qubits. So there are tasks that either because of its logic, or because of the size, or even because of the energy involved, will need quantum computation. Remember that quantum computation in the very end doesn't need energy. It's essentially at zero cost, because you're using the laws of nature to compute for you. It's very, very nice. So the way I see that is that we will have quantum computers in the research labs to improve them, but we will have quantum computers for production, and typically I think they should be hosted at supercomputing centers. So I see in the next 5 years a proliferation of prototypes of quantum computers, however bad they are, starting to merge with supercomputation. I think this is just, again, unstoppable, in my opinion. It is doable, and as an example, BSC, the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, hopefully will join this way of thinking in the next year, and we will see a modest quantum computer built in Europe from zero, absolutely from zero, with us and with a roadmap to go ahead in a very clear way. So again, I see the development of what it is called a quantum ecosystem. We want to see universities producing quantum technology. We want to see production of this technology at supercomputing centers, and we need enabling technologies. We need to make fridges. We need to have evaporators. We need to have fast electronics that goes with times of 1 nanosecond, and control pulses and readout. And all this has to be developed probably by a lot of startups and spin-offs. So this is the way I see it. And I see the industry coming to explore these possibilities in the short future. Probably certain sectors will be more advanced than others, but again, I think this is unstoppable. I'm seeing that everywhere, in every country. And finally, my third set of comments are related to geopolitics. I am sorry, I'm a true scientist, I promise. My daily life is science, but I'm confronted to geopolitics almost every day. I can give you an example. In the Center for Quantum Technologies in Singapore, we experienced our first exportation bans from the United States last year, okay? So as of April 2019, it was the first time that something was not sold to us because this was considered deep tech, sensitive for security. It's a fact. We have now been in also not been allowed to buy software for the first time, not only hardware, but software for design. It's considered, you know, something that should not be exported. And then you see this race between corporations in North America and China. And in the middle, we have Europe reacting finally. And we see all these emergence. We have a national strategy in Singapore, which I think is very solid. We have been drafting in the last year and will be substantially funded. We see the emerging of other countries like Emirates, like South Korea, like Taiwan, like Israel is having a new plan, which is really nice. So the complexity of the landscape is increasing day by day. What is our role there? At least the one I see for Singapore, for Abu Dhabi, and definitely for Barcelona and Kilimanjaro. Well, I defend, that's why I say I follow a lot the thinkings of Matteo. I think our space is open source, open, everything open. We are leading an initiative to have a quantum Linux, which we call Kibo. It is now being joined by quite a number of people, including places like we will have a full-time person at CERN working for us. Within the quantum computing hub in Singapore, we are embracing Kibo. We are developing it for backend for supercomputers is also being developed at BSc, and so on. So the idea is the following: why don't we, the rest of the people who are not in the race, why don't we join our efforts, collaborate rather than compete, and we focus on what is really needed. Full stack programming software is needed. Why don't we do it as an open source? I'm very much in favor also of a lot of openness for the hardware myself, okay? I'm trying to collaborate with everybody and to share our hardware ideas with the rest of the people. Actually, we are leading from Barcelona a Fed Open program for annealing, which is a second way of doing quantum computation. Again, as open as possible. I see only benefits from competition, from collaboration rather than competition. So I think these are my three main ideas: the unstoppable effect of quantum computation, the ecosystem which is being developed, and the role of merging with supercomputation, and definitely the need to play a very clear open source role in the international race. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for those important remarks. I think moving on and moving back into the non-quantum world, I'd like to invite Professor Satoshi Masuka, and I need to kill a phone, to speak to us. I don't think Satoshi needs much presentation within the ASEAN world. However, he does deserve it. Satoshi Masuka has been a full professor at the Global Scientific Global Scientific Information and Computing Center, the Tokyo Institute of Technology since 2001. I think he has been the major driving force behind the development of the next generation flagship computer in Japan, the Fugaku computer, and really who is better placed than to talk to us about the future of HPC. So with that, I'll leave the floor to Professor Matsuka, and I will put the slides back up.
Okay, thank you. Today I'll focus. Yeah, I already gave my keynote, and hopefully many of you were listening to that. So most of the details of Fugaku that's already been mentioned. So I'd like to talk about the life after Fugaku. So this is Fugaku, you see behind me. But let's read, it's just a background, but of course this photo of a real machine. It's not a computer graphics. So it's a real machine that's running today. People can argue whether it's an exascale machine or not. But from a technological standpoint, it's not. Achieving exaflop in impact is rather symbolic, and really nothing that doesn't have that much of a, I would say, technological significance. The important thing is, of course, whether we can scale the machine up to the point where we achieve ubiquitous, almost ubiquitous speed up, 2 orders of magnitude speed up over machines 10 years ago, let's say. And that's the most important thing, and we have achieved that. Many other machines will achieve this in different ways. Lumi will do that to some extent. Frontier will achieve that. Lumi looks very much similar to Frontier. It's about half the size, but from practical purposes, it's only the size really doesn't matter that much. Both have great machines. Aurora will achieve that. There will be a series of machines that will be coming online in the next few years, which will basically, by and large, if you think of the application performances, and not only to the extent that the capacity, but in many of these machines, the application will scale to the extent of the entire machine, which will perform rather similarly of these machines. So by and large, exascale from a technological standpoint is pretty much done at this point. So what do we do moving forward, and we'll do this weekend. So as a director but also researcher, I still have we have a plethora of people, army of people, who now, of course, is thinking about what to do with Fugaku, with the applications, what to do with digital twins and the futures, and so future application, not only traditional simulation, but big data, AI, and all that, and convergence of all that. How do we achieve digital twin? How to achieve SDG goals? How to achieving digital transformation of various areas, like, for example, for coronavirus pandemic, we achieved a lot of our results in Fugaku. Essentially, we achieved the digital transformation of old school sciences that were there by completely new methodologies using the power of Fugaku with the new new computing algorithms. So but again, those are some of the things I talked about, very important, and we do that. But again, our focus is, so what's going to be next? What's life after? What's life after Fugaku? What's life after exascale? Some could be quantum, but not all. And so you could skip to the next slide. Yeah, so for a long time, ever since I started my career in computing, which dates back numbers of years ago before many of you were born, and parallel computing, then started to do work in parallel computing using some early parallel machines like Fujitsu AP1000, which is like a granddaddy Fugaku now. or ancient ancestor of Fugaku. Now, we still had 1,000 nodes, so it was very big at the time, but it was in the early 90s, for example, when I started using machine. But architecturally, the machines have stayed the same. So you have these processors, you have the memory, and that's accessible by the processors, and you have some and they're by and large loosely coupled. Loosely coupled meaning compared to the performance of the nearby access of the memory, let's say a memory within the node, access to something farther away, you're compromised by some significant performance numbers, either in terms of bandwidth or latency. For example, for Fugaku, accessing something remote in terms of the memory, which is, if you have local, you get terabyte per second performance, which is stellar. But, if you try to access anything that's remote, that drops down to maybe 1/20th, 1/100th, and so forth. Latency, similarly, it's not that, it's less dramatic, but, still accessing memory, nearby memory, in local cache is, nanosecond, in terms of nanoseconds, several cycles. So accessing L2 is like 50 nanoseconds, but then we go to HBM, it becomes like 140 nanoseconds. And then when you access any memory, of course, we put in every hardware to make the acceleration. It's not just about the cores, it's about all the peripheral hardware I talked about. So that's important for HPC. It's not just to have flops in the cores, but to have all these low latency features. But still, you're right, it's 500 nanoseconds, so you get hit with like 3-4 times performance hit. So, but nonetheless, so for a long time, we have, for 30, 40 years, we have worked with this model. And then, it's just the things scaled up dramatically from the time when we had like 16 nodes. 16 nodes, say, when I started using a machine like this was until IPSC2, one of the first parallel machines I used. Now we have Fugaku, we had 160,000 nodes, so there's a 10,000, factor 10,000 increase in decades. But still, architecturally, they're very, by and large, similar. And if you look at the algorithms, and system software, the tools, and so forth, of course, they have evolved significantly. They have really made advances. But again, they're tailored to the architectural assumptions that they have some underlying architecture that are similar to the ones that have been described here. Now, you may be adding accelerators and stuff like that, but even then, that's a minor part of the game. And the reason why these machines have been able to scale so much, the performance, going from many orders of magnitude, 6, 7, 8 orders of magnitude compared to the past. First, large were attributed to performance increase in the processors themselves, but also the ability to scale to many orders of magnitude compared to the past, to hundreds of thousands of nodes. So if you count the number of cores, then Fugaku has 8 billion cores. So back then, like 16 cores when I started using parallel machines. So now it's like, so it's like 7 orders of magnitude increase in terms of a parallelism, or even and performance, associated performance. And I can go on with this. So all this had been enabled by what's called the Gustafsson law, which says that when you try to, as opposed to Amdahl's bottleneck, Gustafsson law says that if you rescale essentially says if you rescale the problem, if the problem is rescaled, then you can grow the problem proportional to the amount of parallels you have, then you get this perfect rescale. So that's what we had done. So that's why we had 1 core, 16 cores in the past. We have grown the problem by 7 orders of magnitude. And then we increased the parallelism by 7 orders of magnitude, and thus we have performance that's 7 orders of magnitude, or even greater, because now we have faster clock speeds and so on. Yeah. Now this is all changing, because this will change, it's already started to change even for Fugaku. and it's already changing, start to change, and it will even change more dramatically because we'll be hitting the end, what's known as endomorphing. We can no longer count on lithographic scaling of the chips, and thus what will happen is the power per transistor will become constant. In, let's say 2030, 2030, or whatever, 2025, 2030, but eventually we'll hit the physical limits. And there are many ways people are trying to circumvent them, but ultimately we will hit, we'll slowly hit the limits. And then once no matter what we do, the power per transistor becomes constant. Then we will no longer be able to scale the performance, at least from the flops perspective, from the logic perspective, unless we increase the power proportionally to the performance increase we want. So if you want, so let's say Fujitsu is a 20 megawatt machine, eventually what will happen is, we have a 20 megawatt machine certain performance. If you want something like 10 times faster, you need to have 200 megawatts. That'll be the case. And this will not only have to supercomputers, it will have to be smartphones. So if you want a smartphone 10 times faster, your battery will last only 1/10 of the time. So this will be the case. So what can we do? So then that's all. So the left-hand side, the model performance increase with the model we have assumptions, all the software stack, hardware stack, everything we have created over the years. Once this happens, the performance will flatten. It will not decrease, it will flatten. So what we need to do is to basically think about what can we do in terms of getting continued increase without increase in the amount of flops. And there are many things we can do, but there are a lot of work already in the area. We're already doing some work. Some are using new devices in computing paradigms like quantum for some of the problems, or endomorphing some of the problems. And so forth, but but you can say that this will all be also put a lot of pressure on the existing IT systems because these will be dramatic changes. In fact, acceleration to some extent is people typically say we should have heterogeneous system accelerated, but that's confusing means to an end. Now, as Fujitsu has demonstrated. And of course, Fujitsu has acceleration features already embedded in the chip. That's why you don't see it. It feels monolithic. But you can also argue that even systems like Lumi or things like Frontier GPU system monolithic, because once you get to node level, all the nodes are pretty much the same. And there are good reasons for that. I won't go into that, but there are very good reasons why people build systems that have monolithic node structures. You have same nodes. They just multiply number of nodes. The same thing, whether you have the nodes and multiple chips or you put everything in the chip, it's the same thing. It's that eventually, right? So, and any sort of acceleration is in fact some people a lot of the applications people consider any sort of heterogeneity to be evil, right? Because it puts extra burden on their existing software, and it's an extra burden to the ecosystem. So the less acceleration heterogeneity you have, the better the system from a software perspective. I mean, that's a fact. So what do we do? So we really shouldn't think about heterogeneity or acceleration or any sort of computing paradigms as a first cut. But rather, we should really think about, if you can go to the next slide, we think about, what are the portfolio of applications and algorithms? Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? So what are the portfolio of algorithms, and how will they evolve over time? And how can we get the speed up? Why do they evolve? Well, they evolve because, of course, we make advances in the algorithms, but also they evolve because they evolve towards the direction where the architectural changes will only. That's the only way we can get significant speed up. Let's say take quantum, for example. There are some problems which are pretty much daunting for any existing computers, and especially some NP hard problems, which would definitely we still solve them currently. I mean, it's not that current computers are useless. That's a very typical mistake. That the current computers cannot solve NPR problems. There are lots of, in fact, currently there are no quantum computers except for very narrow sets of problems that can be a supercomputer at the current level. But in the future, this will change as quantum computers evolve, and there will be some problems where it's really tough for existing problems to computer solve that maybe someday quantum computers will be able to solve very effectively. They have very high expectations for them. But that's given the assumption that we know what the problem is. And so we work, at developing quantum computers, not just because of scientific curiosity, because we know that that's the only way we can solve the problem. And we evolve the algorithm to be like that. But the other way we can do it is to try to, let's say, use relaxation, because we don't need optimal, if we don't need optimality, and we know there are some regularity in the structure of the problem, then we can resort to various heuristics, or you can do relaxations. There are many, algorithm research has been going on for 50 years, or even more. So there are many tools in the tools. There are many tools in the toolbox where you can, come up with almost as good as an answer for pragmatic purposes. So that may also be the solution. And in fact, when we think of how things will evolve, one of the only ways, without going into details, one of the only ways we can really think of, aside from things like endomorphing and quantum, which again we do have high expectations for certain classes of problems, but for most classes of problems we believe, which are where we can't get quantum speed up, for example, we believe. And so quantum computers they'll not be useless, but they'll be no different from ordinary computers in terms of being able to solve them. We believe that they will become the algorithms will evolve towards, at least for the next 10, 15 years, towards being more lower order in terms of algorithmic orders, because the reason being that we can't increase the flops. So the only direction we can go is to reduce the energy of data movement, which we may be able to do for some sustained amount of time until we run out of steam there. But at least we can, there are new technologies that horizons, like 3D, various 3D structures or silicon type of fabrications, and various types of devices based on some physical principles, et cetera, which will allow us to exploit this locality of reduction in data movement, energy required for data movement, to accelerate our problems. And if we can achieve that, then obviously the best direction is to investigate ways where we can reduce the order of these algorithms, go from n squared, n cubic, into the fourth to n log n linear algorithms, etc. And there are many works that are already starting to do that, right? Like, for example, in material science, there are a lot of traditionally a lot of the material science codes have been very high order type of approximations of essentially what is exponential. We're going from order fourth to enter the fourth, into the fifth, and there are some, but now there are many very good linear order algorithms, which is not universally applicable, but applicable to many important problems where you can get linear speed up. So it's order and algorithm, and its advances are being made constantly. And there are a lot of groups that we have in our center, in collaboration with some of the European teams, where we're investigating how we can extend the scope of this linear order algorithm for quantum mechanics, for various material solutions. So we really have to think about the algorithms, where we're going, where we can get the speed up, and we think about the algorithms. How can we reduce the order before we think anything about saying we need this accelerator or we need this new type of machines or anything or whatnot, the fundamentals are in the algorithms and how where we can get this speed up and how we can evolve. Okay. So finally, so that's why we're investigating our next generation. We have many things in the works right now. We can, and also with our associate partners. The next one, please. So we're investigating ways where using based on modern architectural principles, how can we increase the bandwidth of the system without increasing the energy? So there are many ways we can do that. Classically, the processor memory, there are ideas. Some of the ideas regarding 3D stacking, how we exploit these increased locality on chips as we increase the number of cores, or things like more data flow type of architecture is more prevalent, or etc. I can't give you all the details because some are still research secrets, but that's definitely the direction we're heading towards the next generation. Because again, flops is pretty much done. Because when we know that flops will no longer is sort of we have a dead end in terms of increasing number of flops. Pursuing that goal maybe great for political symbolic purposes, but from technologically it'll not be a worthwhile goal. Why exploit it? We should exploit again the fundamentals, and this is sort of very similar to what we really should think about the fundamentals of where we can go in terms of physics and algorithms, and exploit that instead of saying we need a 10x machine. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. That was really fascinating. So leading on from that, I'd like to invite Kimmo Kosku, the CEO of the IT Center for Science in Finland, to speak to us. So the CSC has a mission to support the Finnish research, providing world-class e-infrastructure and related services, and this includes investments in national and national resources and active participation in European initiatives. And a very good example of that is the data center in Kajaani, which will be hosting the LUMI pre-exascale computer. So, Kimmo, I'd like to give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for inviting. Some of the things I would like to highlight for the future of HPC, they have already been actually said, but maybe some aspects on top of that. First of all, I think, we have a long tradition actually in Finland in HPC. So CSC this year will be 50 years old. So we started when the punch cards were available. And now we are looking for the European and global collaboration, for example, through LUMI. You have been hearing about LUMI already before, or those who have been in this course. There was a deeper presentation, and but maybe briefly some of the issues or points I would like to make for the future of HPC. So first of all, okay, so LUMI is actually, well, it comes from the word large unified modern infrastructure, but LUMI is also a word for snow. It's a Finnish word for snow, so that you can guess which one came first, the acronym or what it actually means. But this is a joint collaboration of 10 countries and EU. And I think that is one of the first points I would like to make about the future of HPC. So we used to work quite a lot alone. So there are countries and national systems, and they became European or so on. And there was some kind of competition. Okay, there is still a competition, but more and more there is also a collaboration. So here, for the first time, I think 10 countries have unified their forces and actually money and bought something together. And the same actually is in 2 of the other pre-exascale systems. So Barcelona and Italy, they also have other collaborators participating in this. So it will be more and more a collaborative approach. And I don't think that should be limited to Europe only. And actually, of course, it is. it is not because this is a global things and going on here, and now this event is one example of such. And I think opportunities for the future collaboration is also even better and better, especially when now also Europe is starting to invest, because in the previous years we have been somehow lacking behind, and there's still much to do. But I mean, now I think we could be a bit more even collaborators also for our colleagues outside Europe. So the next slide, please. So another point I would like to make is that you see here some of these application areas. Some of them are traditional. We have been calculating those quite some time, and some of them are a bit more modern. So are not modern, but more let's say that not so traditional. So it's more and more we see applications coming up in the areas like social sciences. That's one area. We have a lot of AI applications in different fields, from text mining upwards to somewhere in medical, and so on. So the span of the applications will grow, and also to new areas, and that also introduces a challenge, because traditionally I would say that the physicists, they are, for example, the physicists are very used to use computing simulations and program codes, but social scientists are not. So there is also a big challenge for competence development, and that is something that should be also done more and more in collaboration between different parties, and between Asia and Europe, for example. So there is a lot of opportunities there. The other point I would like to make here is that Professor Torre already pointed out something that I would also like to see, that I mean, Lumi, for example, it's kind of a modular approach. It's not only for high-end code; it's also meant for different kind of applications. And eventually, even though there is no quantum computing involved here, my point also would be that eventually, sooner or later, the supercomputing centers will also host quantum computers, which actually are very efficient tools for part of the codes or applications that are going on here, or that are needed. So it's a solution for some of them where we know that quantum is superior, and that should and could be just another resource in this computing ecosystem. Next, please. Another topic for the future of HPC, and maybe if you click a couple of times, you get the whole picture. So the one thing we didn't mention yet, but in the future also, is that the sustainability and Green Deal of the computing is increasingly important. It comes from everywhere. So that's one of the planning approaches in the Lumi too. So we are using renewable electricity. We are warming the houses in Kajaani. Kajaani is, by the way, in the center of Finland, 600 kilometers north from Helsinki. There is, in the winter time, there is pretty many things to warm up, I guarantee you. But even though now it's very warm, so we warm up the flats with the extends heat and the PUE figures. So there's quite a lot of some of the cooling is done by opening the windows, so save a lot of electricity. So these kind of things are more and more increasingly important in high performance computing, because the data centers are using quite a lot of energy. And also Lumi, like the other computer systems, and also I would like, well, there are 5 petascale systems in Europe. You will hear about one of them next, I think. And they are also used for simulations for environmental topics to make this global climate change also a bit better known, and maybe help on that aspect. And my last slide, where I gathered together some of these points I think we should all remember when talking about the future of HPC. So I already mentioned that in the future, in my opinion, and this is a good direction, that there is more collaboration, global collaboration. We can share cycles. We can also share application development, etc. So why should we reinvent the wheel several times? That's a good question. The more collaboration, the better. The point also that somebody already on the first presentation talking about high performance computing saving lives. So we see that also is, I don't think we would have a COVID vaccination, for example, without simulations or HPC systems and the collaboration in the research area. And well, natural catastrophes, forecasting tsunamis or severe storms, of course, very important. So this aspect is more and more coming up. Global collaboration, well, I mean, networking activities we are building also. Well, we need to remember that now we talk about the computers, but we need to hook the computers together. So the global international networks, this is something that we need to invest on too. And now we see also some more increased discussion here in Europe that we are also having some European technology involved. So we hope to be more also equal collaborator, and in that sense, and also then we have some balance, of course. And we already heard also about comments from Mr. Torre about not being able to get all the technology because it's not available from the other continent. So I think that that will help towards this openness also. And maybe as a final point, but maybe the most important point is that now we should not focus only on exaflops or cycles. I mean, we need to focus on the whole ecosystem involving computers, applications, and people. And training and education activities, for example, all of them we can do also jointly, globally. And remembering that actually, even though we have fast computers, they don't solve the problems, people do. So that's what I wanted to highlight. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Kimmo, and also thank you for bringing it back to the people at the end, because at the end of the day, that is what matters. You're right. So last but definitely not least, I'd like to ask Pascal Bourri. He's the CEO of Lux Provide, and that is the Luxembourg HPC Center, and they are hosting the Melusina petascale system to address us. Pascal holds a PhD degree in computer science from the University of Grenoble, and performed postdoctoral research in Amsterdam. And as I said, he funded and manages the HPC services here in Luxembourg. So, Pascal, can I pass the floor to you?
Thank you, Anders. It's my pleasure to be here. So I took the topic of the forum on the future of HPC, not in terms really of technology, but in terms of openness. So I think that we see nowadays the convergence of cloud, edge, IoT, and HPC. And I strongly believe that excellence in science is great, but I think it could be even better if we could help to democratize a bit the access to the HPC from the industry, SME, startup point of view, and for the citizens too. So if we can go to next slide. Basically, I arrive a bit to the same conclusion. I think that we cannot see really the slide. You are in a presentation mode, right?
Is the slide not showing?
For me, it's showing in some kind of presentation mode. So I can see the current one and the next one. So the current one is compressed.
It's showing the presenter mode, not
Have I been doing that all the time?
Yeah, but for the other slides, for some reason, it was not that bad.
Oh. Okay, let me cut this and try and bring it back.
Yeah.
Display settings. Go to display settings. And switch your display.
You know what? I'm just gonna. No, I can't do that. Okay, so you're saying. Just try this again.
Yep, display setting.
Display setting. So. Oh, here we go. I find it. There we go. And you say swap.
Yep. Yep, you're good now.
I learned something new. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It looks better. So just basically similar to what Kimo was presenting, we see a shift in terms of the usage of the HPC and emerging usage. Some years ago, we really started by servicing the physicists, then we moved to biologists, taking with the big data and so on. Then nowadays with in Luxembourg, at least finance sector, digital humanities and so on. So that the software stack has been really enriched over the last years. And I don't know if you remember the paper from Jack Dongera from 2015, comparing a big data software stack to HPC software stack. And we could see that nowadays things like, okay, all what is related to machine learning, all what is related also to MapReduce is now included. So this is also something that's happening. So if you could move to the next slide, please. So now one of the facts I like to bring in is that when we like to enlarge the usage of the HPC, I don't think that many people would go around and say, okay, I just need the HPC. I think people, what they have to do is to look for solving problems and they have large problems. Like I remember the presentation from Rita. So I don't think that, Rita, you need the HPC. I think you need to have a very efficient early warning system for tsunami. And HPC is one of the cornerstones of this. And you have a whole set of data and decision makings that is has to be distributed over different places. And nowadays, most of the companies are already partially in the cloud or having some on-premises solutions and so on. And we need somehow to bridge the HPC with this. And for doing that, we need, again, to enrich a bit the software stacks. I think that we have now new generations of container running on the HPC that are having this kind of low overhead, but also can take advantage of the low latency InfiniBand fabrics or the interconnects that you might have on your HPC and so on. And we could start having things that will organize workflows on from the outside of the HPC to the HPC. Of course, nowadays, most of the clouds, I'm talking about Amazon, Ali Cloud, and Google and so on, are de facto standards, industry-based standards. But we could see also that the need of open standards into this one. And if we could move to the next slide, I'm there trying to bring even a bigger picture, so that where we could have the data ingestion and inferencing done at the IoT level, while there would be some edge computing also, and then bring things to the HPC and so on. So we need really to find a way to interconnect these different elements, somehow to bridge real-time interactive computing and batch processing, and maybe at some stage also to really rethink of going from a classical fair sharing approach where we with very planned things on using Slurm and so on, to more on-demand access for the HPC. The cloud providers are already doing that, but I believe at the level of the big HPC centers, we should also find a way to leverage this aspect. One of the key things, of course, is also security and trust. So we need to move this data, but some of the parts might not be secure, and we need some additional security layers in terms of software. So once we are on premises and I would say bare metal or very low level security are being enhanced, we could also think of having a thinner security level. So we need to find a way to still be able to take advantage of the very high performance computing environment we have, while at the same time ensuring security from end to end. One of the things that is also kind of important, and this is something that I think that in Europe we are really pushing in the previous speeches also, is this going for open standards and so on. So now we are working at the level of Gaia X to define what would be the sovereign clouds and interoperability between all the clouds and so on. This is something that is also of primary importance. Then one of the things I like to mention also is we're talking about data. So from the cloud part or more the data-oriented research part, they define this called FAIR data, which is meeting the principles of findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability, which is also of a key importance. And we need to be able to have access to data, synthetic data, aggregated data, and so on. And last but not least, with this whole new set of usage of the HPC and technologies and so on, is the need of talents. So we've been putting a lot of emphasis on the developers, but now we need also cutting edge data scientists and also data management specialists that could really ensure that we do have quality data that is managed from end to end, and ensuring that the results will have absolutely no bias in terms of machine learning and so on. Can you please go to the next slide? So just to summarize a bit, I think that we are now starting to think about opening the gates for the HPC at the level of Europe, and we are also starting to work on portals to access the federated network of HPC, in particular with our colleagues from Finland and Sweden and so on, with the PURI framework. But of course, access to the HPC is there, but also behind the scenes, behind these portals, we need to enhance the fact that we will have some kind of computation workflows, orchestration tools, to go from one of the machine to another of the machine, and one of the software to another software, and so on. Indeed, we don't need only to work at the level of the libraries like we used to do in the HPC, but more also about orchestrating all this very nice software that we have nowadays. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Pascal. This has been an absolutely fascinating discussion, a set of presentations. It brings us to the end of the time that has been allotted for the different and diverse. So I hope everyone out there enjoyed it as much as I did, and I want to thank everyone, and then pass the floor back to the school. Again, I want to thank the school for this initiative, and thank you for the invitation to moderate this panel.
Yeah, and thank you, Anders, for setting this up, moderating, and thanks to all the panelists also from the school management. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice school.
Yeah, and of course, for all the people who were sending a question on the chat, on the webinar, we collect the question and we will follow them up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right, before everybody's leaving, may I ask for a quick group photo with the panelists?
Okay.
Mr. Anders, are you there?
Oops. He left.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Ethan. Now, for the next part of our closing, this is at the end of our week, we are going to recognize the best students in this school. This will be presented by School Director, Dr. Gagliardi. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Professor Saputro for the action. So, as we said at the beginning of the school, we're going to grant special recognitions to the best performing students. I remind you all that all students who have attended, the tests, the quizzes, regardless from the result of the quizzes, they will receive a certificate of attendance that they can use to demonstrate their participation in the school. And the certificate of attendance will be sent by our administration in receiving the questionnaire, the satisfaction questionnaire. That's very, very important because, we are here to learn how to improve the school infrastructure. And in order to do that, we really need to get all of you comments, feedback to help us, to tell us what really went well and we should do it again in the future, and what need improvement. So all of you who will send back the satisfaction questionnaire, they will get a certificate of attendance. And then of all the tests or the quizzes, what we did is to pick up the top performance, basically looking at how many good questions has been returned. And in case of equal number, we took the person that answered more quickly, so they were timestamped. And now we are prepared to to present the top 10 performance with the special certificate of attendance. So with the first one and with the first certificate. Okay, so the first certificate of excellence. Yeah, thanks for the music. The certificate, first one to receive the certificate of excellence is Boravan Diaz Carvalho. So congratulations, and you will get that, and you will be able to quickly request it on your own. Second one. Next time we use a supercomputer to slide the presentation. Congratulations. Next. Joshua Dizon. Hope our pronunciation is good enough. So congratulations, Dizon. So next. Next, excellent student Andrea Arizal. Congratulations. And the next is Albina Usamedvi Kunkoro. Congratulations, and sorry for distorting your name.
Thank you so much.
And after Albina, the next one is Ruchuta Ardekan. Well, congratulations from Thailand. We don't see you, but let's go to the next one then. Nisha Govender. Congratulations. Congratulations, Nisha. Next one. Marianne Christie Leong.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much for being with us and performing well. And the next, Domrat Karokiziri. Karokizirira. Yeah. Thank you. Congratulations. And I think we have another one. Regina Julia Yasmin. Warm congratulations to you as well. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So that, I guess, completes the list of the 10 prize excellent students. Remember that the prize comes with a virtual invitation to the school in presence. So you will have okay, there is another one. Sorry, Johannes Arugan Scanebar. Congratulations to you as well. Sorry, I lost the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
So are we done with the 10 certificates, Maureen?
Yes, Fabrizio, we're done.
Okay, so let me go by what I was saying. Because of your excellent performance, you will be kept informed of the plan for future school, and the next school, hopefully in presence, you will have a reserved seat. And after this 10th certificate of excellence, we would like to make a special mention of Tizi Akpaizi, who really show excellent performance all around, and we wanted to give him the particular sign of appreciation, and of course, like the other 10 winners of the Certificate of Excellence, he will also get a reserved seat in the next year school. That later on in the conclusion remark we will confirm what the plans are. So that concludes the prize ceremony, and we also wanted to underline two students who are very, very active. Maybe they didn't do the very best in the quiz, but they were very active. They were asking questions, so they were noticed. So we noticed the following students, and we would like to call their names out. So we have Miss Amy O from Myanmar. I don't know if we can see their picture. Well, in any case, let me read the name. And then we have Mr. Faisal Rahmat from Indonesia. Then we have Miss Joy Alinda Madamba from the Philippines. And then we have Mr. Ruel Cayona, again from the Philippines. Mr. Tan Le Ai Wang from Vietnam. And last but not least, of course, is Miss Apivande Piaturong from Thailand as well. So a round of applause to those students who has been noticed for their active participation. So I think that concludes the let's call it the award ceremony. So back to the master of ceremony now.
Thank you, Dr. Gagliardi. And now we would like to reflect on what has been happening for this week. We would like to call upon Dr. Piawut Swichaiko as the co-chair of ASEAN HPC Task Force. The screen is yours, Dr. Piawut.
Thank you, Secretary. I thought it was going to be Fabrizio first. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. I know that this coming into this time of near to the closing event, everybody will be very tired. I have quite a few things to say, but I try to make it brief. And and after this, we'll hear the conclusions of the school from Fabrizio. Okay. First, as the host, I would like to share some of the feelings of doing this one. It was a very challenging experience for me in hosting this event. It is why it is designed as a hands-on experience. It is it's a lengthy modules because we have 5 days continuous, starting from 8:30 to 6 every day, except for today, which is going to be longer. And the student can attest to that. There's a time zone difference and geological difference of all the coordinators, speakers, lecturers, and students across continents. There's and a lot of coordination has to be made. And most of all, since we cannot travel, we cannot be in the same place together. So we have to put them all in virtual environment, which require a lot of synchronizations. Okay. And to me personally, absolutely, this is the first time experience of managing and arranging an event in this fashion. I also want to share another part, the feeling of satisfaction and happiness of this school being successful. Let me share with you the feelings that how afraid I was when we opened up the school on the web, whether I was wondering, are we going to have not enough applicants? And turns out there were overwhelming interest from applicants, which we have to spend a lot of time to select down to the limited number of technical limitations to have people on the hands-on experience. And I believe we received well responses from the beginnings for welcoming HPC into the ASEAN's agenda. And for the past 5 days, to me, it's a relief is that there has been no disaster in terms of technical glitch, anything that we cannot forgive. We have some minor which have been fixed and everything went well. And by God, better not happen from now on. So being said from the host, let me thank you all the participants of the school in whatever roles you are in. And on the other part, I'm representing the ASEAN HPC Task Force, and as the HPC member communities is getting a little bit more formal. I would say HPC capability building is now a confirmed need for ASEAN. This school success itself is a proof. ASEAN HPC cannot afford to wait any longer, even in this time of side crisis. I'm taking from His Excellency's Perka Tapiola, the EU ambassador to Thailand, stated in the opening on the first day that because of this crisis, that's why we cannot wait. During the school time 5 days, you have learned and see how HPC plays important roles in dealing with this crisis. Taking, for example, new disease like COVID-19, HPC has important roles in studying the virus, information, its structures, the vaccines and drug synthesis has been having HPC involved. And for dealing with natural disasters like tsunami, earthquakes, flood weather predictions, early warning, as we see from yesterday and today's, HPCs are required part behind it. So what's next, you ask? Today we have put the strong starting important milestone on the ground. We must keep the wheel of history rolling forward. If things go as planned for the better, we hope to have the next school as a physical one, most likely in Thailand. But we will see. For whatever it will be, rest assured, this will not be a one-time event. We will have next one to come in series in different shapes and forms. So all the people here, please check back with us regularly on the websites for future events and news announcements. Last, I would like to speak as myself to the people on these panels with me. I want to personally thank Fabrizio, the school director, for his experience and his leadership in designing the school and directions. Thank you, Pasaputro, the handsome MCs, and my HPC task force colleagues who has been with me from the beginning of this designing school as well. And I would like to thank Aldo next, and the support of E-READI to make this school happen. And thanks to many team of people behind the scenes whom I have privileged to work with in the past many months, putting up this school together. And thank you, everyone. Now, being said that, now can I pass the floor back to?
Yeah, it's back to me. Okay.
To Fabrizio.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you, Joe, and of course, not just for the tremendous support during the school and the selection and everything else, but also, for the preparatory work. So let me now share the screen, especially because I see there is a delay, and the voice and the pictures on the screen are not synchronized, at least on my computer. So let me use slides, is easier. So let me share the screen. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, well, you know what we're talking about, the school. So let me wrap up, sharing my experience, which goes very along the lines that Pia Wood was explaining before. So we are at the end of a very long journey, which started quite some time ago. I must say, it started with another school. It started with the active successful participation of some ASEAN students in the ASEAN summer school, well, you know what ASEAN is, it's the Association for Computer Machinery, the oldest and largest computing professional association in the world. And we run a summer school on high performance computing, similar subjects in Barcelona in present 2019. So I allocated a few slots specifically for ASEAN candidate, for ASEAN students, and a few came all the way to Barcelona and they performed extremely well. I think, you know, the number one to get a certificate of excellence was in fact a student from ASEAN, from Thailand, in fact. And then there were, you know, other events in Luxembourg, in Barcelona. Well, you know, you got in the previous, well, those of you who were in the school before, they have seen that we cover today the urgent computing, which was also the subject of the training we performed for the ASEAN delegation in Barcelona. So the idea of this school came up in that context. It was very much encouraged by COSTI, by the ASEAN HPC task force, all the various authorities in the region, and including very much the authorities in Thailand. And thanks to the good offices of Professor Pucho Utayopas and Pia Wood again, they were very instrumental. We got the offer to host the first school, and in fact the first school this year, it should have been in Thailand, in Bangkok, and that's why we run on a Bangkok time zone, and hopefully we'll be there soon in the future. So it was officially announced in March as Supercomputer 21 in Supercomputer Asia 21 in Singapore, in presence of His Excellence, the European Ambassador to ASEAN, Igor Drismans, that it will be saying a few words also at the end of this meeting. So we're very, very grateful for his support and interest. So what does it take to organize a school like this one? Well, it's been a hard work, 1 year hard work by many, many people. We had the scientific team formed by Professor Saputro, Dr. Pia Wood, and myself in Europe. And we pick up excellent scientists according to the subject of expertise, according to the main themes of the school. And those are the people you see mentioned in the slide. So Professor Nakajima from RIKEN, Dr. Apostolov from KTH in Sweden, my colleague Dr. Dobra Reis for BSc, and Pascal Bouvry that spoke earlier on, and Dr. Arnaud Folk also from BSc. And then, of course, we could not have done that without the tremendous effort, the cooperation, the support that the E-READI team, led by Aldo, who has been very present today as well, former Ambassador Aldo Della Riccia. They did all the heavy lifting work under the auspices of the EU delegation in ASEAN, the ASEAN authorities in the region, the DG Research Innovation Directorate in Brussels, represented by Pierrick Filona Shida, that I will introduce shortly. And then a solid financial support and encouragement by the EU DG for International Partnership. We got an overwhelming response, as Joe was saying, almost 300 applicants in only 4 weeks. And that was really a surprise for me. I'm used to, next to my career, scientific career, I'm used to run school. I'm a great believer that we need to train and inspire the next generation of scientists to take over from us. And the surprise was so huge. They really were to work overnight, basically around the clock, to do the selection and select, the 60 students plus the other people who had to move to a passive role. So that obliged us to a very, very severe selection. As I said, with many, many students we wanted to take and we couldn't. So please stay in touch for this reason, for future opportunities, and in particularly, again, for the ASEAN HPC school. We will run the school again, unfortunately virtually, but being virtual, it will allow you maybe easy time to attend. So, I'll show a slides at the end with the details, but, do not hesitate. And as I did 2 years ago, I will also be happy to reserve some slot specifically for the ASEAN candidates. So at the end of the day, what does it make a school successful? Well, it's the quality and dedication of the lecturer and the quality and the enthusiasm of the student. So this time we have been very lucky in collecting some of the best experts in the world, mostly from ASEAN, Europe, and Japan, experts in high-performance computing, system programming, and their application. And you have seen some of the latest installed and the most powerful supercomputer in the world has been presented and demonstrated in the week, and also somehow discussed in the panel earlier on. So to conclude, the enthusiasm and the quality of the students positively surprised us, and that's why we went through this recognition earlier on, and that's the same sentiment was expressed, was recognized by all the lecture speakers and the school moderator. So now, with this exciting week behind us, what we will do? We will consolidate and make the material available, including the video of the school, available for you, for your record, to study further what we have done. And again, do not hesitate to get back to us with further question, comment, and we will direct them as appropriate. And that will be a basis to start developing the plans for the next HPC ASEAN School, hopefully in presence in Bangkok. For that, your feedback are essential. So now I leave the floor to one of the inspirators of the school, one of the father of the school, Pierrick Filon-Ashida, that he was doing this also as part of his position as the ASEAN Desk Officer at the EU Director General for Research and Innovation. And then, we will then conclude the school. I think, Pierre-Wood has already expressed his feedback, but now let's call in Pierrick to get his own opinion on how the school went and wrap up with a few words. So, Pierrick, are you around?
Yes, I am there. I have put my video, but I don't know if you can see my video.
Yeah. Now we can see you. Very well.
Okay, because I can only see your screen. I see your screen and your own face. Perfect. I will be very brief. Of course, I will say thank you to colleagues. But if you see my background, this is a European Parliament. So I wanted to give you a special a glimpse. I went out of my office and I said I will give you a big present. So this is a picture of the European Parliament. And when I am turning around, behind me, it's a bibliothèque Solvay, the library of Solvay, where about 110 years ago started the big conference on chemistry. I show it again. This is a building of library Solvay, where Einstein with Marie Curie and several Nobel laureates discussed about physics. So maybe some of you, voila. So I wanted to give, this is a building, Fabrizio, behind me. And on the other side, it's European Parliament. So this is why it's very important to have a school like you have had. With COVID, it was probably hard, but Fabrizio, many colleagues believed in the idea. I want to say thank you. Marco, I know he's following with Facebook. Marco Corsi was a predecessor of Aldo as a new team leader for E-READI. He helped, we believed in the idea. We had several people like Piyavut, Saputro, many, and we made it all together. So Aldo, thank you very much. Also, because I believe that until it's done, it's never done. So you, Aldo, and the team with Maureen and plenty of people of your team, you made it. So this is to say a big thanks. And of course, big thanks to the students, because as Saputro and Piyavut were underlying, we were not sure how we can recruit, how we can select in this hard time of COVID and on an absolutely new scheme. My second brief point is how we will follow it up. Dr. Gagliardi outlined some possibilities. I myself participated to one of the sessions I believe you have heard with Professor Bourguignon and Claire Morel. We have several schemes in the EU. We are also having a strong support of ASEAN Secretariat. We believe in the regional cooperation and in the role of EU countries and ASEAN countries. So we will follow up with funding possibilities, exchange possibilities. It's a real honor to have had so many lecturers from EU, from ASEAN, and from Japan, who are key leaders in their labs. They will welcome you, and we will generate, I hope, and we will, next year, a second school. So in terms of applications and importance, HPC is everywhere. So I strongly believe the school had to be done. It happened, and we should continue. We should continue. We are entering a new world. I hope we have still possibilities to meet in this new world. I have not met many of the colleagues now who are helping on this initiative, starting with Aldo. But let's see how we can do. So Fabrizio and all the colleagues around the table, all the best to the students. You have done really good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ferry, for your nice word. And now let's move to Aldo, to the E-READI.
Bye from the European Parliament. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye, Ferry. So now let's move the floor. Let's pass the floor to Aldo in his authority of E-READI team leader. He will wrap up the school. You're muted, Aldo.
It happens in the best families.
Yeah.
So very quickly, because we are running out of time, the D of E-READI is dialogue. And I'm very pleased that during this week-long session of the HPC school, we were permanently in dialogue. A dialogue among professionals, and also an interesting dialogue between scientists and practitioners, between science and its application. Then it's a dialogue, it's a regional dialogue. And I'm very pleased to the fact that we had a full region, that all the member states of ASEAN were represented among the students. This is very good news, and I would like to salute the presence of the Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN with us today for the ASEAN Economic Commission. The response from the ASEAN member states was absolutely fantastic. We had also a very strong presence from different centers and persons in Europe, and this really corroborates this EU-ASEAN cooperation. But in addition, we had also a multilateral dimension thanks to the excellent contribution of our Japanese colleagues that demonstrated how valid their contribution to this issue is. There was also a dimension of dialogue among students. I would like to remind here that they have to fulfill the feedback form, the questionnaire. There was a very good interaction among them. Dr. Fabrizio Gagliardi mentioned it, which is not easy when you are on the virtual space, but they managed nevertheless to have an exchange among them and a dialogue among them. We had also this final panel, a dialogue among eminent persons about the future of HPC. And talking about the future, I would like to conclude by saying that this is not the end of something, it is the beginning of something. We hope that thanks to the application of HPC to the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and the research in the field of vaccines, next year we'll be able to have already the first school in presence, possibly in Thailand. But the idea is that these HPC school would become a natural feature in the academia in the region, with a rotation of seat in the different countries of the ASEAN. I would like to conclude by saluting the particular performance of our master of ceremony, Pak Saputro, there is one point that I have to stress. He has been with his endeavor, with adventure, right from the beginning. But there is one point which is very particular. When we received over 270 candidacies for the school, there was a moment of discouragement. And Pak Saputro lifted the spirit of everybody, saying, no, we will do that. There is no problem. We will select the 60 best candidates. And I think that it became a kind of stimulus for all of us in order to make sure that what was a dream would become a reality. So Pak Saputro, thank you very much for all you have done. With that, I think that I'm not further down beyond what was my time limit. And I give back the floor to Pak Saputro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aldo. Thank you very much. We are going to conclude with closing remarks from two excellencies. First will be from His Excellency Igor Drisman. He is the EU Ambassador to ASEAN. But before that, shall we take a group photo, please, of us? Yes, Pat, are you ready?
Just one moment.
Are we done?
One moment, sir.
Okay. Please hold your smile. Keep smiling. I hear clicking sound of the camera, taking photos.
It's a silent camera. I'm glad that Ambassador Drisman could join the photo.
Yes.
Tingly. That's the photo. I think the photo session is over.
All right, we done? Okay, thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, it's a pleasure to present to you His Excellency Ambassador Igor Drisman. Let me introduce Ambassador Drisman to you. He is the EU Ambassador to ASEAN. His responsibilities include Asia and Pacific, cultural, diplomacy, transport, and fisheries. He served previously as the principal assistant to the COO of the European External Action Service in 2014, desk officer for ASEAN for 2013-2014, so ASEAN is not new to him, and deputy head of the political, economic, trade, and information section of the EU delegation to South Africa. And Ambassador Igor Drisman is an official of the EU since 2003. He holds master's degree in history from University of Ghent in Belgium. His Excellency Ambassador Drisman, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor, for this very nice introduction. His Excellency Satvinder Singh, Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN, Anders Dam Jensen, Executive Director of Euro HPC, Dr. Fabrizio Gagliardi, School Director, Dr. Piawat Shri Shaikul, I hope I pronounced that right, co-chair of the ASEAN HPC Task Force, dear Aldo, E-READI team leader, distinguished panelists, and of course, students gathered here today. It's my great pleasure to be with you as at this event carried out in the framework of our EU-funded E-READI instrument, and I've already received very good feedback from the work that was done this week. But first and foremost, congratulations. I commend all the students on a successful completion of the school with excellent results. I'd say excellent not only in reference to your academic success and knowledge acquisition, but also in the larger context of high-performance computing in ASEAN. You are the first class to graduate from the EU-ASEAN High-Performance Computing Virtual School. That is, of course, a major achievement for you, but also for EU-ASEAN collaboration on a cutting-edge strategic technology, and for our understanding on how to harness the large amount of data we are capable of collecting for practical applications. I was happy to see that the EU-ASEAN cooperation is complemented by the participation of our Japanese friends in a great example of multilateralism and trilateral cooperation. In fact, as was mentioned earlier, in March, I spoke at the EU-ASEAN Japan Symposium as part of the Supercomputing Asia 2021 conference, where I did announce that the HPC school, and I'm pleased to see that our cooperation has continued to allow the accomplishment of this joint venture. We are at the dawn of a new era where we not only have new technology, but we also need to have brilliant minds, your brilliant minds, to harness this technology. Over the course of the week, you've learned about you using HPC for the urgent topics of climate science and disaster mitigation. You've also taken a deep dive into the use and importance of HPC for fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's worth pausing just for a moment to realize the many worldwide implications you have now been exposed to. As Aldo said, don't see this event as an end, but as a beginning. After we conclude today, you will leave with the unique knowledge that few in the world have, as you have seen the inner workings of European, Southeast Asian, and Japanese supercomputing. I would like to conclude by highlighting that there were students from all 10 ASEAN member states. And I trust that in your respective countries, you will become heralds of this technological advancement, possibly in the framework of a regional cooperation framework under the guidance of the ASEAN Secretariat. But for now, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and thank you very much for your contributions. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Drisman. Let's give a big round of applause to Ambassador Drisman. Again and again, we said that this is not a beginning. This is not the end, but it's a beginning. Of course, we look forward to the next edition of this school. But next, we would like to welcome His Excellency Satvinder Singh. He is the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Economic Community at the ASEAN Secretariat. His Excellency Satvinder Singh is the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Economic Community for 2021 to 2024. He supports the Secretary General of ASEAN by providing leadership in the implementation of the AEC Blueprint 2025 and will lead the AEC Department of the ASEAN Secretariat. He will also provide strategic advice to advance ASEAN's economic integration agenda. With over 27 years of experience, he has held a variety of local, regional, and global management positions across the region. At Enterprise Singapore, Mr. Singh oversaw 4 divisions and drove digitalization efforts in Singapore amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. His Excellency Satvinder Singh, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. A very good evening, everyone. Your Excellency, Ambassador Drisman, Mr. Jensen, Pak Aldo, the task force co-chairs that has given us a good insight on the program, all the distinguished faculty led by Dr. Fabrizio, the distinguished panelists that I had the chance to learn so much about HPC. I learned so much, actually, honestly, and all of you, distinguished students, guests, everyone. It's truly great to be here. My sincere thanks, first of all, to the EU and COSTI for making this program possible. Our appreciation also goes to the EU for supporting the program through the enhanced regional EU-ASEAN Dialogue Instrument, E-READI, all the way since 2018. My deep appreciation, of course, goes also to our host, Thailand, for an excellent rollout and an excellent hosting of the school session virtually, despite all the challenges. A very big thank you from all of us. Today, the first high-performance computing school has been successfully concluded. Big congratulations to all of you. In fact, over the last 5 days, I'm told 60 of the selected participants from over 10 ASEAN member states have learned about the fundamentals of HPC system design and applications in critical domains, even in things like COVID-19. They learned on urgent computing, on climate science, from international multilateral experts, not only from Europe, but also from ASEAN and Japan, truly a multilateral team. Particularly on urgent computing solutions from COVID-19, I think that learning, I believe, is timely and much appreciated by all of us. This kind of capacity building definitely relates well to the mission of the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework as a kind of a consolidated, as all of you know, the framework is the Consolidated Recovery and Resilience Strategy to help the region to recover. And I see all the kind of efforts, including what's happened this week, it's all contributing towards that. I would also like to highlight the continued need for a shared ASEAN HPC facility to create opportunities for growth of technology capabilities in all of the ASEAN member countries, which will take into account the existing gaps in current technology capabilities in the field of HPCs amongst us. But I think more important, a shared HPC infrastructure, as like I've heard from many of you in ASEAN, will definitely deepen digital connectivity, will encourage innovation, and it will kind of overcome the high entry barrier of HPC in a kind of sharing in terms of optimizing our resources. And also, you know, most importantly, you'll be there to create opportunities for the talent. And I know we are not short of talent in our part of the world. Human capital, human capacity development in HPC definitely is going to help to build the bridge and also address the existing gaps in HPC technology capabilities among the ASEAN member states. But I think more importantly, it's also is going to contribute towards a very long-term human capital development initiative. As you all know, we really need to keep pushing on the need for a mobility of digital scientists that are central to truly to the whole fundamental of the EU-ASEAN HPC initiatives. This HPC shared infrastructure initiative, therefore, was set as a priority for both 2019 and 2020. And for this year, the organizing of the HPC school is definitely one of the ASEAN 2021 annual priorities in the science, technology, and innovation sector. It's really one of our leading, most important events for the year. So it is our wish that, again, there'll be a further continued region-to-region cooperation. There'll be this continued exchange and also more opportunities for capacity development and mobility of our ASEAN scientists to strengthen the whole of the ASEAN HPC human capital. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this HPC school concept is a dedicated, intensive regional school, and it has provided students, again, with basic HPC design and programming skills to access local and international HPC platforms with proficiency. Now, these are all, as we all know, essential skill sets that the next generation of the HPC professionals should have in the region. And I hope that the students have gained exposure to all of the international collaboration opportunities, and they kind of also feel encouraged to want to create linkages even more on them by themselves amongst the research infrastructures that are available and all the networking that's available to them. I would really like to congratulate all the students for the completion of the program and wish that we will follow up with any international collaboration opportunities in the EU-ASEAN context in the future too. And I also hope that the students will on their own, they will continue to endeavor to further contribute to science, technology, and innovation in our region. In fact, there's quite a lot of online learning, a lot of online resources and communities today already available. And I truly encourage the students in ASEAN to continue seeking deeper knowledge and continue to vow to contribute to the needs of the region's economic and socio-economic systems. There is such a big need in our societies. The future transformation journeys of our societies, of all sectors, and the lives of our people depend on your passion and your strength to do well and to help make the impact. In fact, all of what we've been hearing, HPC, the quantum tech development on big data processing, on solving complex problems, the strengths to do well and to help to make the impact, I think these are all in your hands. Okay, and I truly believe that the need for us to move into these areas will just get more and more important year by year, and there's going to be a huge interest to move towards more efficient processing of all this complex data, not only more efficiently but also more sustainably. So therefore, the challenges ahead for all of you, for all of us actually, are huge. And I truly encourage all of you students and the future tech entrepreneurs in the region to constantly keep upgrading, keep updating yourself, and keep up with the speed for the kind of the transformational changes that our societies will need. Again, these are huge responsibilities for all of you, and I know that you guys are going to do well, especially with the support that's come this week to all of you. Once again, from all of us, a very, very big thank you to the host teams who have worked very hard to put this together. And sincerely, we hope all the very best to the students. And what I can assure you is that the Secretariat is going to continue to support the efforts in setting up the HPC school, hopefully physically in the near future. But again, once again, thank you to all of you, on a very good weekend, well-deserved rested weekend to all of you.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Satvinder Singh. Let's give a big round of applause for His Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would be so kind filling out the evaluation form, it's in the chat room. The link is in the chat room. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear participants, with the closing remarks from His Excellency Igor Drismans from EU and His Excellency Satvinder Singh representing ASEAN, with deep thanks and gratitude for all your kind and attention and support, we can humbly declare that this first EU-ASEAN HPC school has been a huge success. And with that, this EU-ASEAN HPC school is officially concluded. We look forward to the next editions of this school in the coming years. Thank you, everyone. Let's congratulate each other for the conclusion of this HPC school and give a big round of applause to all of us. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, and see you, all of you, next time.
Thank you. We love you all.
Yeah. Greetings from Europe.
See you in Bangkok.